What's up, Planeswalkers? It's your boy K-Dog. Got a fun little Simic list for you guys. This one, take a look at a deck built around Simic Ascendancy. It's a 2-mana enchantment, green and blue. At the beginning of your upkeep, if Simic Ascendancy has 20 or more growth counters on it, you win the game. So it's kind of one of those fun, hard to pull off alternate win conditions. However, whenever one or more +1/+1 counters are put on a creature you control, put that many growth counters on Simic Ascendancy. And it's got this built-in activated ability. We can pay 3 to put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. So obviously there's tons of creatures and other spells that allow you to put +1/+1 counters on things. But 20 is quite a few counters. So the best way to get there is focusing on spells that put multiple counters on at one time. If you want to get to 20, you need to not just go one here, one there. That's kind of slow and clunky. It doesn't really work all that well. You need to put multiple counters on at a time if you want to get to 20. And we also have some pretty decent-sized creatures that can also win the game on their own if we don't find our Simic Ascendancy, if our opponent has removal for it, etc. So some of our game plan here to get there, of course, Ozolith works really well with this strategy. Creature you control leaves the battlefield. If it had counters on it, put those counters on Ozolith. And at the beginning of combat, you can take those counters and put it on a creature you control, or target creature. We also have some interaction here in 4 copies of Callous Dismissal. Return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand and amass 1. So you're making a 0/0 creature, and it gets a +1/+1 counter on it. So it fits in with our theme perfectly. It is just the 1 counter, so it's not really great, but having basically some tempo, some pseudo removal, and making a counter at the same time, I think it definitely is worth playing there. So we also have 2 copies here of Hydra's Growth. Obviously, we don't have a lot of creatures here in the early game, so this is not really anything that we're going to be enchanting here until a little bit later on. So, running 3 or 4 doesn't really make sense. 2 is really where you want to be. Make sure you get some creatures down, and then you can drop this. And when it comes down, put a +1/+1 counter on enchanted creature. However, at the beginning of your upkeep, double the number of +1/+1 counters on enchanted creature. So this will put your Simic Ascendancy in turbo mode. And especially if we have some creatures with trample, you're going to be potentially winning the game just with that. And we also have 3 copies here of Yorvo, Lord of Garenbrig. It is triple green, and we're in 2 colors and legendary, so you definitely don't want to run all 4. I think 3 is the perfect number. When it enters, you get a 4 +1/+1 counters on it. And whenever the green creature enters the battlefield, get an additional +1 counter on Yorvo. And if its power is greater than Yorvo, put another counter on it as well. So if you play so it comes down as basically a 4/4. If you play a 5 or 6 power creature, it would come down and get 2 +1/+1 counters on it. 1 for it being green and 1 for it having more power. So that's fantastic. So Mowu here is a 3/3 Vigilance Trample for 4 mana, legendary creature as well. And if 1 or more +1/+1 counters will put on Mowu, that many +1 counters are put on it instead. So it doesn't necessarily double the number of counters, unless of course it's 1. But if you get 2, 3 counters, then you get an additional counter. So it'll be, instead of 2 counters, you get 3 counters. Instead of 3 counters, you get 4. So just another way to kind of get your Simic Ascendancy up pretty quickly. And Vigilance and Trample with a bunch of counters on it is fantastic, since we're all in that kind of strategy. A couple copies here of Vivien, 4 mana, 4 loyalty Planeswalker. Since we are mostly green, we don't mind having triple green in her mana cost. And +1 to distribute 2 +1/+1 counters among up to 2 target creatures, and they gain trample on ton of turns. So much of our creatures already really have trample. However, just getting 2 +1 counters on it per turn with Vivien out, and be able to -3 to deal damage to a creature or planeswalker on our opponent's side, gives us a little bit of interaction. Galloping Lizrog is amazing here with the Simic Ascendancy. 3/3 trample for 5 mana isn't really fantastic. However, when it enters the battlefield, we can remove any number of +1 counters among creatures you control, and if we do, put twice that many +1/+1 counters on Galloping Lizrog. So you can get 1 or 2 creatures down with counters on them, and take even just a couple of those counters off and put them on your Lizrog and double those counters. Your Simic Ascendancy is just going to go nuts, and you're going to get to 20 growth counters pretty quickly. And just use Simic Ascendancy to win the game. Otherwise, you just have a big trampling creature that can also help you close out the game. And go on to our X spells here to close things out. We have all 4 copies here of Stonecoil Serpent, Reach, Trample, Protection, Multicolored, and enters with X +1/+1 counters on it. So it's kind of a fantastic creature at any point of the game, anywhere from basically turn 2 to the end of the game. 4 copies here of Voracious Hydra, X green green, 0/1 trample, enters with X +1/+1 counters on it. When it enters, we can either double the number of counters on it or fight target creature on our opponent's side. So another little bit of interaction here. And then of course 4 copies here of Hydroid Krasis, X green blue for a flying trample, Jellyfish Hydra Beast. When it casts this spell, we get X half X life and half X cards, round down each time. And also enters with X +1/+1 counters on it. So just a fantastic card all around. Lets us refill, gain some life back for our opponent. Gets off to kind of a faster start with some early aggression on their side. And yeah, all those counters are lovely. So 4 islands here. We have 25 lands, 4 islands. Just the one Castle Garenbrig. Enters tab unless we control forest. Taps for green, or we can pay 2 green green to add 6 green mana. Only use that mana to cast creatures or activate abilities. So with all of our X spells, the Garenbrig is pretty sweet. 7 forest, 4 breeding pool, 4 temple of mystery, 4 fabled passage. Just kind of hit our triple green for Yorvo as consistently as possible and things like that, and triple green for Vivien. And just make sure we have the blue when we need it as well. And our 25th land here is the Karn's Bastion. Taps for colorless. However, we can pay 4 and proliferate. So if we can just get a few creatures down with counters on them, we can proliferate and put additional counters on them. And especially if we're like in a board stall, like we don't have good attacks, our opponent doesn't have good attacks, we can just proliferate and just keep growing our creatures, and eventually we'll attack through, or we just get those counters to count towards our Simic Ascendancy. So kind of the sideboard here. We've got 2 copies here of Grafdigger's Cage, 2 copies of Soul Guide Lantern. Obviously, cycling is still a thing. There's still other, kind of reanimation type strategies you'll need this against. Grafdigger's Cage, I'm not sure how relevant that still is. I haven't really played too around with the new meta since the bans too much, but still probably worth keeping in there until we kind of figure out what's going on. 2 copies here of Aether Gust, of course, is always going to be relevant. 3 copies here of Lazotep Plating, giving ourselves and permanents you control Hexproof on turn and amass 1. So just like the Callous Dismissal with the amass, it's pretty fantastic. And then protecting ourselves from targeted spells, Zenith Flare, protecting our big X creatures from spot removal. So yeah, it's fantastic against those situations. 2 copies here of Kenrith's Transformation. It's a 2-mana enchantment. When it enters, we draw a card. And enchanted creature loses all abilities and is a green elk creature with base power and toughness 3/3. So we have a bunch of big creatures, so we don't mind kind of turning our opponent's creature into a 3/3. Maybe it's bigger, maybe it has some activated ability we don't want them to have access to anymore. Whatever the case may be, we can kind of sort of access removal and then get a 3/3, which isn't really big a deal because we have big creatures and we have trample, so we don't really care. Nylea here as a 2 of, it's a 5/6 indestructible for 4. So we're mostly green, so getting to 5 green devotion shouldn't be too big of a deal. And creature spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. With our X spells, that basically gives us just a free counter. And we can pay 3 to reveal the top card of our library. If it's a creature, it goes into our hand. Otherwise, we may put that into our graveyard. So just fantastic card drawing engine as well. And also against the aggressive matchups, we've got Ironscale Hydra, 5 mana, 5/5. Every creature would deal combat damage to Ironscale Hydra, prevent that damage, and put a +1/+1 counter on Ironscale Hydra. So that's pretty fantastic against the aggressive matchups. We'll jump into some best of 3 and see how we do. Alright, up against Zach Kazi. Go first. Well, Fabled Passage, grab a island into forest, into Ascendancy, and see where we go from there. Forest, go. Well, I didn't pass the turn immediately, so they might have some kind of an instant speed spell here in green. Now, without any creatures out, I'm not really sure what it could be. So hopefully they give us something to Callous Dismissal, and then we can Krasis on the following turn for X equals 2. Alright, they're also in Simic. Incubation Druid. Well, Stonecoil is decent too. Yeah, we'll just bounce it. And say go. I think we still Krasis here for X2. Skydiver. Okay. Let's Passage. So we have the Garenbrig. Let's grab a second island just because. And then Krasis for 2. Another Ascendancy. Do we block their 2/2? Probably not worth it. They do not even bother trying. I guess we just Lizrog. I think we go ahead and take all the counters. Having a 9/9 is pretty decent. Don't really need second Ascendancy, so I think we just Stonecoil X6. Shrekler Crab, okay. You can tap us down next turn. Just attack, and could put a couple of counters, but I think I'd rather just Stonecoil. 6. Oh wait, it's oh yeah, we have the Garenbrig. Yep. Miscounted by 1 there. It's all right. So we'd be at 16 here. Still a little bit off. I'm going to bounce it back to hand so I can replay it. Zagana. And incubation, finding Biomancer's Familiar. So we have double activation on Ascendancy next turn, depending on what we draw. Suicide there, 2/2. We'll take it. Krasis is a good one. 7, so we can do X5. Let's attack with our trample. And they pack it in, yep. Trample is a little bit too much for them to deal with, I think. Alright, so probably want the Aether Gust against the Simic deck. Nylea. We take out 2 Voracious Hydras for 2 Nyleas. They do have some larger creatures, so I don't think the Hydra is going to be fantastic against them. Kenrith's transformation is decent as well, so I think we'll bring in 2 of those. So they have Zagana, Incubation Druid, Merfolk Skydivers. They have some decent ETBs. Creatures. We just drop the Ozolith. Or I keep Vivien in. And try it like that. Ironscale Hydra could be decent too. But it's better when it just kind of brick wall your opponent's small creatures. There we go. Alright, so we can Alright, against T-Freak 32. Sure, we can Fabled Passage, grab a forest. That was a forest. Do it anyway. Play Ascendancy, and go from there. Mono black vampires. Alright. So we can Voracious Hydra and fight this opportunist. Fight. So they trade, we get that off the board. We can bounce this Aerialist at any point. Alright, Vindictive Vampire. Vivien's pretty cool. I'll draw some more cards, I think. Breeding Pool. So now Vivien is an option with 3 green. Murder, yep. Attack for 4, play another 2 power creature. Yeah, pretty much not good options here. Let's go for Lizrog, I guess. Next turn we have Vivien plus Dismissal. So they used 1 murder so far. Probably have these decks usually have like Sorin's Thirst and things like that. Second Vindictive Vampire. Alright, we'll kill one of them. Take a bunch, go down to 7, 6. Alright, bounce you.
With the Arkbow at my side, I can't lose it.
Kill you.
We're gonna tear you apart.
Attack 3. And trade with the Opportunist. And hopefully find something to deal with this Aerialist. Could just have a Sorin's Thirst, yep. Disfigure for the token. So be it. They're just going for the throat.
We're fit enough to survive.
Attack for at least 2 in the air here. If they have removal, then they just win the game. But 4 life without life gain, it's not really much we can do here. Another Disfigure or Sorin's Thirst. Finish off our Lizrog. No, they just wanted to attack. So we can swing for 10, they block 1, we can pump twice, hit for 12, but we just die to the aerialist. Oh, got him down to 3 for what it's worth. I gained 1, actually 4. Scry, land. Alright, GG. Hey, mono black vampires. Hydra's growth doesn't seem great. Lazotep Plating to protect our creature seems great. Nylea. Vivien was pretty awkward there. Ironscale Hydra does well though. Yeah, we'll try like that. So Ironscale Hydra can prevent the block the death touch creatures. Damage is prevented. Instead, we get a +1/+1 counter on it. So that's why we're gonna run that. And of course, Nylea is indestructible. It's a little slow, but yeah, just Fabled Passage, fetch a forest. And Stonecoil for 2 next turn, if we keep finding some lands. Playing with the fast start here. Let's actually just bounce that. Slow him down, make a 3/3 Stonecoil Serpent. Gets it out of range of most of their removal. Better than a 2/2. Still think we go for the 3/3 play here instead of trying to temple and a 2/2. Say no attacks. Try to take our time here and get set up a little bit more. Untap land would be nice, or maybe even another dismissal. And they suicide their 2/1. Okay, we'll take a... They want another land? Probably. We'll take a 5th land. X3 seems good. You got 20 life and you block. Okay. Vampire of the Dire Moon. Sure, dude. Let's X3. Let's attack all. See if they want to see what they want to trade with. Just a token. Okay. Let's Krasis X3. Draw a card. There's a Simic Ascendancy. Not sure why they're eyeing our graveyard. Gruesome Hydra doesn't target mine. Okay, that's why you were blocking so aggressively. Cool. Alright, Simic Ascendancy into Nylea. And yeah, let's keep attacking. We have Trample. So we're going to force some damage across. They're at 16 effectively with the Vampire of the Dire Moon. Lizrog can take both the counters away. It's not ideal, but might be worth it. Alright, so we got 15/15 trample, and we got 12 counters on our Ascendancy out of nowhere. But they probably just have a murder. Nope. Or maybe. Alright, Vampire of the Dire Moon. Perfect. We have double activation, so we make this 17. Let's attack. See if they see how they block here. 5/5. That's 10, 11, 12. Okay. We'll take it. And just run it back. This hand's pretty awkward. Not having the best luck today, so I don't really trust the mulligan either, so we'll keep it and hope for the best. Wow, Knight of Ebon Legion. That's not the card we want to see from our opponent. We can Callous Dismissal next turn. Pretty nice start for them this game. More lands. No thanks. So the Hydra can pick off the Child of Night unless they attack in, and then we'll just block. They seem like they're on the suicide plan. Alright, well, fight the vampire, at least keep some of their creatures off the board. It dies, that's fine. We get a 2/2 Krasis next turn, draw a card. Just trying to do what we can do here. No third land. Alright, we'll take it. Well, they probably have a Disfigure or Sorin Source to deal with this, but that's fine. We'll gain a life, draw a card. Lizrog. Okay, no instant speed interaction there. There's our third land. Okay, there's Sorin's Thirst. I'm not sure why they didn't just play that earlier. Yeah, we'll just Krasis again for 2. Second Lizrog. Alright. Back for 2. There's Simic Ascendancy. So just put a counter on it. We can hit for at least 5 here. Murder. Yep. It's better than activation. They hit for 5, put a counter on the knight. Guess we'll go with Yorvo and pass the turn. Their removal, we do have Lazotep Plating open. Block the Knight of Ebon Legion. I'm just going for the suicides. I'll take it. And we'll get a Lizrog nice and big. We're up to 16 counters, so it's possible we can still pull this off. All right, 14 trample. All right, we'll attack him. I think I wanted to get the Lizrog down. Point of trample damage. A 1/1 token down just because. And Simic Ascendancy. Alright, got the Simic Ascendancy win. Sweet. Sweet, sweet, sweet. So yeah, super janky deck. But yeah, it's definitely fun in the casual queues. We can get it to kind of come together.